Hi, it's Mary Jo again about sustainability, and I have the pleasure of being here with Kevin Folan, his wife Maureen, and Ryan Stigor, the builder of a passive home, which will be, according to the drawings, a minus 51 net zero. It's phenomenal. Let's start asking Kevin and Maureen, what was your inspiration? How did this idea come from?
For me, I think sustainability and energy efficiency has always been important.
You're an engineer, of course.
And I've got some technical background. After we found the lot during COVID, it gave me time to learn from the experts, some of the best in the business, how to go about building a very energy efficient home. According to the drawings, the HERS rating would be 25, but with the solar addition, the HERS number became a minus 51, meaning we would generate 3 times more energy than we use.
Maureen, you're in sustainability as well.
Yes, we've been in that kind of space, whether it's work or at home, for a long time. When it came up to build this new house, Kevin is just amazing at the research he does. It was a great opportunity to make something new that can be a show.
Did you find this on your own or with a builder?
We found it on our own.
Did you have any challenges there?
We did. It took us a long time to find it. As you could see driving up, it was a little bit hard to find.
Yep, winds around.
It's very private. It's in the Twin Cities area. We ended up finding it, contacted the owner, and made the deal.
So you bought the lot before you found a builder.
Yes.
How did you find a builder?
We started by going to the Parade of Homes. We looked at some green path builders. But as we would talk through what we were interested in doing, it became apparent that they didn't necessarily know as much about the science behind it as we wanted. One of the things I did during COVID is I went to Passive House Minnesota happy hours. I met that group of people, and they were very helpful as I would bring my ideas about what made sense and what didn't. After we had been looking for a builder for quite some time, I asked them who they would recommend, and they recommended Ryan Stigor.
But you went through a couple of contractors before Ryan, didn't you?
We went through one that we were pretty close to pulling the trigger on, but as we got more in depth, it became apparent that
He didn't know.
He didn't understand how to do the things that we were looking for. The advantage of Ryan is not only has he done it before, but also his crew knows how to do it. They've done it before, and they know why they're doing it, which made things a lot simpler.
So Ryan, how was your initial involvement?
They were fairly far along with the design already. Not this design, but a design at the time, and asked about pricing and things, and I did what I could to provide some rough estimates in the beginning. Once they were comfortable with that, we got more into the details with the soils they were dealing with. It became a redesign at that point.
Most homes, the original design isn't always the final design.
Exactly, yeah. It's
Well
always
said.
an evolution. Their goals always impact. The communication between the owners and the builder is so important because that allows me or a different builder to point people in the right direction and get the
I think people
information.
don't understand how involved, me as a realtor, I get very involved in people's lives for a period of time. And you as a builder, you also get extremely involved in your
yes.
lifestyle. You mentioned the land, challenges with the land.
This one was interesting. This house is on pilings.
Okay.
So when we bought the lot, we did soil testing. And there was a foundation that had been here previously, so we did it around that foundation without knowing what the footprint of our house was actually going to be. That soil testing came back saying that we could do a traditional slab-on grade.
Because it's on the lake and you have a high water table, you couldn't do it.
Once we knew what the footprint of the house was going to be, we went back and redid the soil testing. That testing came back indicating that we probably need to do the helical piers, the pilings. And so we had to get a quote for that.
Surprise.
Over budget already. Haven't even dug a hole yet. According to those soil tests, it wasn't all that bad. You had to maybe go down like 30, 35 feet. Once they got down to that 30, 35 foot level, they got to a torque level they couldn't get quite to, and then it just broke through and it was back to organic soil. So our deepest pilings are like 85.
To China.
Bedrock is what they
Yeah,
found.
okay.
So,
That was a challenge. So Ryan came in after you had the lot and the design. Were there challenges with the orientation or the design?
In their case, it actually was pretty straightforward. As a person who's been involved with Passive House for a long time, my biggest nightmare is a lake lot on the south shore of a lake because opposing goals with the glazing. Here we didn't have that. The lake is on the south side. The majority of the glazing is on the lake side, which is great for their efficiency. And that goes for any house in a heating climate.
As far as Passive Home, you worked with them to make sure that you were at the standards. I know your ceiling height and the size, you don't qualify.
we would not have qualified for the Passive House standard, mainly because a couple reasons. One, we have too much windows for the space of the home, and also too big of a home for the number of people living in the home. To meet their criteria, we would have had to build a smaller home with smaller windows. We knew going into that we weren't going to meet their criteria, but we started with, like from their insulation perspective, is recommended or needed for Minnesota. We started there, and then we found that insulation isn't all that expensive and went a little further. For the floor, the requirement is R10 for code and maybe R20 for Passive House. This has R38 in the floor.
Okay.
The walls, Passive House, I believe is like R40. We're at R63.
Wow. Let me ask you, for the foundation, you poured slab, but did you pour insulation under, or did you pad under the foundation?
That's where the R38 insulation comes in. Once you start insulating under a slab, adding more inches of insulation to that thickness isn't a huge cost consequence. It made sense to just thicken up the insulation. It added some cost, but in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty minimal.
There are savings, but most important for me is I hate cold feet. So I didn't want cold feet. So
Okay.
we upped that insulation. It's more of a creature comfort.
Are you putting
Yeah.
radiant heat over that?
No, we are
So
not
it's-
using radiant heat because when we were looking at radiant heat, we found that we're already going to have an opportunity in January that the house, because of these large windows on the south side, will bring in more heat than it uses. The calculations showed that we would gain maybe 6 degrees of heat when the sun is shining in January. Overnight, we would lose 4 degrees.
But it's still the plus.
So we would be gaining heat every day. The sun was shining.
So
We have to actually cool the house in the wintertime, which is easy to do. You can open the door.
You can always open a window.
Can we talk about these windows? Now, these are sealed, are they open, or?
We have both kind. We have the tilt and turn. This is a big fixed picture window that you see here. But we
Right.
also have the tilt and turn where you can open them up. You can tilt them up or you can open them to the inside like a normal casement window.
And yeah, you could crack those open.
So there's a couple things that we have in place. One is exterior shades. On the outside, the shades will prevent the heat from coming in to the house to begin with. They'll automatically open and close depending on the inside temperature. If the temperature inside the house gets too warm, they'll automatically close. Our energy recovery system has a bypass mode. Normally with an ERV, you would go through a heat exchanger.
Right.
It has a bypass mode, so you can bypass heating that air and bring in cooler
Just-
air. It'll mix and automatically adjust itself depending on how much cold air you need to bring
Okay.
the temperature down.
Maureen, what are your expectations and dreams for the home?
We've talked a lot about the livability of it. That's where I've come at it from, the comfort side, the temperature, how easily can you adjust the temperature? What's the response time on things? How does that work? Temperature of floors, air, the balance with the windows. Like Kevin mentioned, you're on a lake, you want windows. So it's that
Gorgeous views.
balance
Big.
of keeping them not too big and hurting the energy side, but also being able to enjoy it. So I've been the one that's asked those kinds of questions. What's this going to look like? What's that going to feel like? How do we change different pieces of the house? But it's very exciting to see where it's at because the current house where we live does have geothermal. We do have solar panels. It's not going to be as advanced as this one, but we've had some experience.
At the end of it all, we still have the primary HVAC system, which is a heat pump driven system. They have a standard looking thermostat. As a homeowner, you can set the temperature you like, leave it alone, walk away, and it's done.
I know there were frustrations in the changes of design and the piers that you had to put in. When did you find that you were on track making progress? When
So
did you feel that?
I think Ryan was a big help there. He had that technical knowledge from the house standpoint. He not only knew how to do it, but he had done it before. He gave us a comfort. The conversations we had with Ryan were completely different than the conversations we had with other builders because it was at a different level.
Okay. And as far as the kitchen and the appliances, how did you select those? Maureen, did you do that by yourself or with both gentlemen?
For sure, yes, because it starts with if you're building a house that doesn't have cuts through the roof or the sides of the house for vents, you got to think about a heat pump dryer or
yes.
a recirculating fan over the
Induction cook.
It will be a lot of new things, but again, there's more and more options out there.
Which research did that entail? A lot? Ryan, you were already appraised of...
I did the deep dive on this stuff a while ago. 2011 was my first passive house project, and I've just been passionate about it ever since. And not just passive house certified like they're doing here, but I've also remodeled my own home to those standards. I've always taken on these experimental purchases. I was an early adopter in that because I wanted to know, recommend to somebody else, hey, buy this expensive dryer. So I have all those things at home. I was able to give them feedback on my experiences with them and how my family likes them. What are the learning curves, what things are different.
Based on his experience with the dryer, we were able to go with a different brand.
There are some brands you prefer over others because you can't buy a dryer in every brand.
Not everything functions as advertised, so you find some things out in the real world that are different than the brochure. I was able to share that, and that helps guide there.
So heat pump, dryer, but also a heat pump water heater. Since a water heater consumes a lot of the energy for a house, it made sense to get a heat pump water heater, which will be in the mechanical room.
We're all the same brand, so they work in tandem.
No, not all the same brand.
Different brands, we focus on simplicity, and sometimes in these systems, a separate disconnected system can be more simple and more reliable.
Only
My
someone
side of
with
things-
experience would know that.
Yeah, you find out the hard way. Yeah, we're early adopters in a lot of different water heaters, and these heat pump tank style water heaters have been pretty good. It saves me a lot of phone calls, and in the end, they get something that functions great for them.
True, and not all brands convert, or they're just not adaptable to passive standards.
And it seems like the whole home monitoring technology is evolving so fast now that I expect that somebody will have something that connects with all of it that can work after the fact. So we're less focused on what brand each individual part is.
And we are how far through completion?
About 2/3. Yeah, about 2/3, I would say. We're shooting for a spring finish.
I am so excited that you were able to allow me to come out and talk to you. Once you're finished, what's next?
It's interesting. We had an open house here a while back. A lot of energy nerds came to the open house. Through that event, I had a request from the Green Building Advisor to write an article, which just got published today, and also to speak at a builders summit coming up in January. A couple of people have asked me to consult with them as they go through their journey as well.
That's wonderful.
There are various organizations that I've been asked to talk about the journey and how it went. I'm happy to share in hopes that other people can learn from what we did, good and bad.
It's an ever-evolving industry. More are moving towards passive or the passive idea. I'd like to pledge that you would make yourself available for social media to do some teaching online. People would be very interested in your journey. Thank you so much for letting me come out today and talk to you. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned. You'll want to see when it's done.